Good morning, brothers and sisters. Here with a morning sermon that I think GMs are going to love, players are going to hate, because I've got 8 torch sconce traps for you to drop into any dungeon, any ruin, any manor house. They're pretty system agnostic, or location agnostic, I think. They don't all have to be down in a dungeon. So let's jump into it and see how we're going to kill some characters, right? So the unlit torch sconce is 1, sabotaged. It's filled with a chemically altered oil that erupts as a poisonous fireball when lit. Not just a fireball, but a poisonous fireball, almost like mustard gas is kind of what I imagine. Just you go up to this and you're like creeping down into the crypt, and there's 2 sconces maybe being held by angel statues or something, and there's just a liquid in it that it looks like it's there for the priests to use as they're walking inside. So the idea is you want, it's meant to lure characters into igniting these things, and they kind of take care of themselves, right? The intruder kills themselves rather than needing to have more elaborate traps inside. So you can just have basically, it's just a torch that blows up. That's really all it is. Idea number 2, the unlit torch sconce is concussive. It's stuffed with a dozen tiny flares that explode to stun and blind creatures when lit. Very similar to sabotaged in the sense that there is something in this torch that if the players are, cautious or ask good questions, if you can kind of, if you sprinkle in an extra bit of description about this torch sconce or these cool torches that they found, and the players don't have some sort of maybe little alarm bell ringing of we don't normally get descriptions for torches that are this thorough. That's weird. That's on you, players. That is completely your fault if you get a flashbanged torch in the face and then an orc comes and caves it in with their maul, right? That is completely on you. Idea number 3, the unlit torch sconce is burner. It's enchanted such that it gradually heats the dungeon's internal temperature to inhospitable temperatures over the course of 1 to 8 hours once lit. Gas-filled pipes run through the dungeon's walls to light all torches at once and keep them burning. It's quite literally just turning the dungeon into an oven. And then your characters, I think you could go 2 ways with this. Either you make it almost like Hansel and Gretel, Fey-ish, ooh, this dungeon's gonna cook you a lot. You just lean into that and you make sure the characters know they are in danger of being cooked alive. Or, and kind of what the original idea was, is that it's gradual. It's you boil a frog or whatever, where this dungeon is getting hotter, but at a rate that the characters almost won't notice until it's too late. And then when they're down in the 7th level of this dungeon, and they're like, whew, boy, is anybody else getting hot? I thought we killed the dragon. Then they realize, ooh, we got a problem. We got to get out of here before we die of literally being cooked to death, but we haven't even gotten all the treasure yet, right? So a cool one that could create some environmental puzzle type scenarios or situations. Idea number 4, halfway there. The unlit torch sconce is mundane. It is completely harmless, but dropping it or any other open flame on the floor will ignite the near invisible dusting of gunpowder across the chamber's entire floor. It doesn't have to be gunpowder. It can be any kind of weird magical dust you want, but the idea is the torch isn't the trap. The trap is this invisible, or not invisible, but this super, super faint coating of some sort of flammable or explosive or chemically reactive material that if the characters drop a torch or a fireball or they do a magical spell or something that creates flames, it can then blow up the floor. And maybe that means it's just everybody takes just some concussive damage or something, or it could literally blow the floor out like a demolition charge and everybody falls down into the lower chamber, into the lower chamber. That could be cool. And then I was just now thinking too, this seems kind of pointless. I don't know why the designers of the dungeon would do this, but they could design the torches to be slippery. So they know, yeah, we don't use these. These are purely for illumination. But if anybody else comes in here trying to snoop around, and they pick up one of these torches, it'll whoa, slip out of their hand and boof, blow up on the floor. It's actually not as crazy of an idea as I thought now that I kind of talked through it. The sages who work in this library or wherever this is at, they're so dedicated to keeping this knowledge secret, they're willing to blow the whole thing up if somebody else were to try and read it. I like that. I like that even more the second time around. All right, let's move on to the second half of these ideas. Let me find my mouse. Where are you? There you are. All right. Idea number 5. The unlit torch sconce is a fuse. It's enchanted to light itself and all other torches in the dungeon, then burn for exactly 1d6 hours, after which the torches and all mortal lives still inside the dungeon are snuffed out. It is a timer in the same sense that the oven idea is a timer, but this one is sinister. This one is, I was envisioning it almost like there's a candle. It's not even a torch sconce at this point. It's just like a skull's or a lich's skull with a candle made of like hag's braided hair. That's the wick coming out of it. And you light this candle, and that's what allows you to enter the dungeon. Maybe the torch has to be lit to enter it. Ooh, yeah, I like that idea. So you light the torch, you step inside, and then because maybe it's etched into the archway of the dungeon's front door, kind of like the way of the dead, or the way is shut. It is made by those who are dead, and the dead keep it. What is that place in Lord of the Rings where they get the army of... I can't even remember. Let me know. But that same idea that the characters get the sense of, like this candle is a power word kill. This thing is not messing around. It doesn't care about... It's impartial. It's not even like a monster. It's just this force. It's this magic that is more powerful than the GM needs to worry about explaining. Just... You have 1d8 hours, and if you are still inside, doesn't matter if your foot is just barely, like, still touching the inside of this dungeon when that candle goes out or the torch goes out, you're dead. And I could really see this boiling down to the final roll or one of the final rolls of the session of the adventure of this dungeon is that deck save to see, can you, Indiana Jones style, slide out from under the ceiling door of this dungeon, or the closing door, right? Before it burns out and everything inside dies. Very dramatic. Idea number 6. The unlit torch sconce is a linchpin. It's the only thing keeping the stone ceiling from collapsing. Removing the torch from the sconce releases a concealed metal cable, which runs to hidden anchor points in the ceiling. So literally it's like a crossbar. You have this pin with a cable that goes into the wall, right? You put the torch down in you put the torch through the pin, and then it stops it from moving further. And so that's the only thing keeping the ceiling or the floor or whatever trap you want from being triggered. So if you pull that torch up, then the tension, it just kind of rips it out of your hand, and the whole thing comes falling down. It's kind of just a tripwire trap, but with some bait. And the bait isn't gold or a magic item. It is just a source of light. That is the trap. Idea number 7. The unlit torch sconce is cursed. It's a cursed relic from a lightless age that causes any shadow cast from a living creature by it to gain a foul life of its own should its host fall or drop to 0 HP. So basically, as you're running around this cursed torch, if you or your ally or any living creature, this could mean the enemies. I'm just realizing that means the enemies too. That's brutal. If anything dies while in this light, their shadow, like immediately, they can't make a noise, I guess, but the shadow, comes free and gets to attack. And so that is very scary, because that could just take an already like difficult encounter and push it to deadly like so fast, especially if you're playing, you're in a group that has people going down and up and down and up, right? You like going down is not an immediate death sentence. This can add some lethality then to your sessions. If you're struggling to, if you want to double tap your players, right? Like make sure they're dead. This is maybe a way to do that. Not saying you should do that, but you could do that if you want. All right, final idea here for a torch trap. So the unlit torch sconce is planar. It is a technological marvel capable of shining light on 1d4 other dimensions kept hidden from mortal eyes. It can see into other realms of existence but cannot interact with it. This idea being like you're down in the bottom of some alien mind flayer dungeon and you pull out this sort of torch looking thing. It's got weird like Tesla coils and all kinds of bulb things that we would recognize as like light bulb looking things or a flashlight. But to your characters, it's just this like insane artificer staff. And when you like speak its command word or you push the rune glyphed button, it lights up. And you can change it through these different light settings. It's almost like cycling through infrared. And then, I don't know the other light spectrums, but you can move through those. And instead of moving through our light spectrums, you are kind of clicking through or you're using a light spectrum to see other dimensions, other realities. And maybe that's just the astral realm and the ethereal realm and the Fey realm. Or it could be whatever you want, but the idea just being you can kind of get a sneak peek into what is around you without going into that realm. I think that's a cool idea. I think that's really fun, especially with it being some sort of like, it's a relic from a long lost, 40K-esque type empire that could traverse the stars almost like on a tourist type level. You're just looking. You're not even actively engaging with it. That's so cool. Or this could be something that the characters find that then leads them down this crazy rabbit hole of like, oh my god, our fantasy world is being observed by aliens. That would be cool too. Any excuse to introduce aliens into D&D I think is awesome. All right, that's it. That's all the 8 torch ideas I could come up with in a day. I hope you like them. Hope you got inspired by them. You'll probably have seen down here that there's a little note. This is a screenshot from the Patreon post that this was a part of yesterday. And it also included a poll to determine tomorrow's table. So all kinds of cool things happening over on the Patreon. If you haven't checked it out, that's the best way to support the church besides liking and commenting. And also, if you like the shirts that I wear, they're all from Crusade, who is freaking awesome. He just had I guess I should say they, my bad. They had a really cool merch launch. I think it was their second big wave of merch. It's really, really cool. And this is part of that one. This is the Valkyrie? Or this might actually be the Harpy. I think I have a different one that's the Valkyrie. Yeah, she's riding like a Pegasus or something. I always wear their shirts. They're so cool. You can use the code DOOM, all caps, to get a discount off your order, and a kickback will come to me. Hey-o. And then you can also do the same thing on Only Crits, who makes really, really nice, high quality, like sharp edge dice. They made Runehammer's dice. I'm working with them to make mine. Eventually that'll happen. So you can use the code DOOM there as well. You get your D&D merch and your D&D dice, and you're set to go. So that's it. That's all I got. Thank you so much for attending today's sermon. And we say these things in their unholy names. Amen.